Hey everybody, welcome. And today's going to be a little bit different. It's not a release or anything. It's just me talking about this new project. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to write. I will probably have a lot of fun fleshing it out and editing it. But it's a little novella, and you're about to learn all about it. So we have Eva. Hello. With the little thingy, the little hand, and Alice. Hello. So I know I have a lot of projects, not as many as some, but not as few as others. I'm kind of right there in the middle, I think. And this number of projects is, I guess, what's working for me because I keep coming up with them. Anyway, have you ever had an idea that just literally it won't leave you alone? That was this project number 63. I started writing it on February 17th for 11.25 hours up until 5 a.m. on the 18th. I didn't get tired, and the words just kind of kept flowing. Now, granted, I did take some breaks. I did eat. I drank some water. I took care of me while doing this, so don't worry. It wasn't like a straight 11.25 hours. And by the end of that, at 5 a.m., I had 17,399 words. Then I wrote a little bit more, spanning over 5 days or 20 hours and 20 minutes. The first draft is complete at 31,039 words. And this little story took a life of its own. It really did. It all begins as it always does. A birth, a brainwashing, a rebellion in a quiet novel reading way, and finally an arranged marriage. So as you can kind of guess from this, it's kind of set in Regency, aka Victorian, somewhere around in their era. And it's going to be fun, I promise. Knowing what happened in her novels was not real, Verson steeled herself for a horridly scarred old warrior duke and a life of loveless boredom. And sometimes she's a lady with sense, sometimes she's not. Until he appeared beside her at the altar, and he was nothing like what she imagined him to be, but everything she daydreamed about. Her imagination ran wild. Verson couldn't wait to see what her Duke Regis had underneath his wedding attire, for he was considerate, kind, charming, everything a man should be, right out of the pages of her steamy romances. That one lasted a little bit longer. Impatiently waiting and preparing for the night, everything was perfect, including him, until he said, with a gentle smile in her bedchamber, "Your beauty will remain unblemished and intact for your next husband to enjoy." And he left. What just happened? Yes, what just happened? And I had way too much fun making this slide. So, determined to provide her husband with the best life with her, mostly in bed, Verson will do anything at all. Convincing him to consummate is not so easy. Verson uses all her wits and wiles for weeks and then a month, and he still runs away. Will she ever be a real wife to her husband while she's falling in love with? But he says some things every now and then. Is there finally going to be hope? She waits for him to come back from the border, because he gets sent off to different little things, knowing he will be tired from fighting the enemy. As soon as he arrives, they talk, with his second, Harry, in the room too. Regis has decided that Harry is to be her second husband after he dies. Harry refuses. Verson wonders if Dick's killed, and that's why her husband refuses to do the deed. At their wits' end, who gives in? My husband wants to keep me pristine. That is the title title of this new project. Project 63 is My Husband Wants to Keep Me Pristine. So, fun little things here and there. I've got some chapter titles up here on this slide. There are 24 chapters so far. When I edit, I think I'm going to add about 2 more chapters to round it off to 26. And that way it'll be a little bit closer to 35,000 words. Hey, Raven. Thank you on pouncing on the like button. And Alice, good. I'm glad. I had a lot of fun writing this. I really did. So chapter 2 is Only One Bench in the Carriage. Kind of a spoof of the only one bed trope. Chapter 7 is What Did You Do, My Lady? There's a lot behind that phrase. Chapter 11 is One of These Plans Has to Come Together. If y'all watch the A-Team, here you go. Chapter 14 is Stick It In Me. I don't need to say more on that one. Chapter 17 is that a bell you're wearing? But who is wearing the bell? You'll find out in that chapter. And in chapter 19 is Balls and Spears. It's not quite what you think, but it might be. More fun facts about it is inspiration came from a lot of webtoons and anime. Just because, all of the webtoons, well, not all of the webtoons, but all of the webtoons that are set in Regency era have the arranged marriage thing, and I kind of wanted to do a little twist on it. And a show called My Lady Jane, if y'all haven't watched that, highly recommend it, especially if you like historical romantic comedies with a fantasy twist. It's a lot of fun. The rest of the insanity in this novella holds is from this brain. Yeah, stick it in me. So yeah. Now, I'm going to open this up for kind of like a Q&A if y'all want to. We can keep this short and sweet. I can read like the first chapter or any chapters that you choose. Chapters are between 1 and 24. The last chapter, the last little bit will probably be cut off a little. But yeah, page count is anywhere from 3 to 45. 3 is the start of my Word document after, the whole copyright and everything. So yeah. Any questions? Anything that you want me to read? I am all ears. I'm going to take a little sip. Bear with me. Man, I really had so much fun writing, and it is very much a rough draft. I haven't edited this at all. I'm not going to get around to editing it. Probably the soonest is probably going to be April. But this kind of jumped in between all of my other projects. I have 4 that I was working on this year for sure that I was going to get out and publish. And then this one it literally wouldn't leave me alone. I mean, it woke me up in the middle of the night with ideas and I would have to jot them down. I would dream about some things. I know I dreamt about Harry being the second and what he looked like. So yeah, it was a lot. Hey JC, how are you? But yeah, for those just joining, I'll go back to maybe this page if it'll let me. The inspiration. Oh, come on. Go to the right one. So I had to do this as a video so that my little bow falling down, screaming no as it falls would work. But yeah. Hey Rita, how are you? This is Miranda's Cauldron. for those over on the YouTube side. You can see Miranda and me usually on Sunday mornings at Breaking the Book, where we help writers helping writers kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to read the first chapter. These chapters are really, really short, so yeah. But first, I am actually going to make this font a little bit bigger because, wow, eyesight, y'all, it's fading. Okay. So the first chapter is titled The Ceremony That Is Too Long. Oh my, she spoke out loud as she thought to herself. Why do we have to do the ceremony? Can't we just get in bed together already? Her upbringing did not equip her for this. Her heart skipping beats while she imagined what he looked like under all those wedding attire layers. It prepared Versen Grim Sivian Celsius for ladyhood, duchess. Strict procedures in doing everything from waking up to how to hold a teacup. The same story for every lady in these times. What was she to do when there was a man beside her whom she actually wanted to perform some of those steamy scenes in the books she wasn't supposed to read? Where had that lesson been? Silence filled the church, and Versen stared at her husband to be more until the priest cleared her throat. She looked at the woman in reds and whites, trying to understand the looks she was receiving. Oh, I do. She had things she must do before she could be alone with her man. Duke Regis Brindle Nervasos, a.k.a. Duke Victory, in shining armor. Versen's mouth watered as she imagined him in armor, sweaty, breathless, eyes hooded with hatred for their enemy. Then he would turn in all his glorious self to see her and smile through the blood spatter. What if he had dragon blood? Oh no, what if he was secretly an offspring of their enemy, fighting against his hateful family that she could help him build trust and love again? What if, of a night, he turned into a ravenous beast that only she could sate? The last imagining made her weak in the knees. My lady, a rumbling voice thrilled her from her side. He leaned in close to her ear through the veil. Forgive me for tainting you in this way. She stared at his large, calloused hands as they lifted her veil. Then his eyes caught her attention. Midnight blue, like staring into the night sky between sparkling stars before the sun fully relinquished the sky. What was supposed to be happening again? Right, a kiss. She nearly jumped into his arms, but his hands were gentle on her sides. Versen's gaze dropped to his lips. The bottom one was plumper than the top. The left side lifted slightly because of a slender but ragged scar from his jaw to the corner of his eye. This close, she had to tilt her chin higher than she ever had before to look at his face. His length and strength apparent under his clothes nearly threw her imagination into another series of hopes and dreams, until he came even closer, and his lips pressed to hers. What was his tongue going to taste like? Versen blinked, staring at his lips because they were no longer on hers. That was far too quick. Unclenching her hands from one another, she reached up, only for him to turn, thwarting her from pulling him down by the lapels to kiss again. She turned with him, the roar of the crowd suddenly filling her ears. Clapping politely still became thunderous when there were so many confined in a room that echoed like a cave. From the back and left his side came a unified salute in the words, "Congratulations, General," said in 100 voices as one. Never had she become so lost in thought or in daydreams that she completely forgot where she was and that she was not alone. He presented his arm. She wrapped her hand around the curve of his elbow, the walk down the long purple rug to the entrance of the worship hall. To each of his steps she had to take two. Luckily for her, he shortened his stride after a few moments. I'm going to pause here. Sorry. Considerate. He was considerate. How lucky was she? What if he didn't have time and he took her to the bed right then? Should she complain about it or act shocked? What if he didn't even wait until they got to his abode and he took her in the carriage? She felt her face begin burning and tried to school her thoughts into place. Concentrate on the here and now, Verson, she chided herself. As they passed his men, she studied them. Instead of short, cropped hair like other regiments, theirs were all long, kept neatly tucked into black ribbon. How odd. My men wanted to be here to celebrate the occasion. I hope you don't mind their appearance. As soldiers, we are not smooth and kept like the gentlemen you are used to and probably prefer, my lady. I don't mind at all. And I do not have any preference over a soldier or a gentleman. My preferences lie in actions and attitude, my lord. She reassured him with one of her winning smiles that half closed her eyes but didn't show her teeth. Besides, I was only wondering why your regiment all have long hair when the usual standard is short. That's very good, and I appreciate your candor. His smile was small and short-lived. My lady, ours is long to provide warmth under our helms and a little more cushion. We were off-stationed in the colder portions of the battlefields due to our southern hardy lineage. He also explained things to her without disdain in his voice. She hoped he would catch her if she swooned in deference to her good luck. Gods she would worship every day. Instead of tossing her in the carriage as she'd hoped, he guided her to the side of the church where the celebrations building squatted. Decorated in white roses and red tulips with similar hood claws stripped between and around the pillars, it was a beautiful sight to behold. On the raised dais in the back were their seats, behind a table swathed in white and loaded with flowers around dishes of delicacies. Once he settled her in the chair, she found her favorite foods before her: breaded pork cutlets drizzled in fried egg and dark rich sauce, noodles cooked to perfection in mouth-watering herbs, and a red velvet cake with thick creamy icing made her mouth water as much as her husband did. She glanced over to his side and noted that his was much the same, but he also had a few more side dishes of grilled chicken in bite-sized pieces with some deep red sauce over them, and an oddly shaped breaded thing curled over another plate. My lord and lady, I am Count Rasmus, and may I present to you my wife Helena and our daughter Taryn. For your wedding day, we wish to gift you these jewels and a dagger made by our country's finest smith. Her husband glanced at her. Then he looked back at the family before them, dressed in extravagant golds and blues, as was their right as counts. I thank you for the dagger. It looks like a fine weapon indeed. My lady, do you like these jewels? She turned to stare at him and settled that he was allowing her to speak instead of speaking for her. Yes, of course I do. They are beautiful, and I cannot wait to wear them. I pray I do them justice. You're very gracious, my lord, my lady. The trio bowed after servants took away their gifts and placed them in the side room to their left. I hope you do not mind me ordering most of the gifts to be left in the room there instead of being presented. There are a few like these I thought you would like to see. Otherwise, your meal should be uninterrupted for you to enjoy fully. The Duke spoke gently. His voice still grew in her ears and washed over her body, providing all sorts of sensations she didn't know a mere voice could perform. Thank you for being so considerate of me. I hope you enjoy your meal uninterrupted too, my Lord Regis. Reg, he said quickly. Call me Reg, my lady. If I do, then you must call me Sin, she smiled at him. His brows quirked and his lips lifted. Sin? My lady, I can do no such thing, for you are a beauty, and therefore cannot sin. Oh, if he only knew the thoughts and feelings he caused in her. Hellfire was worth it for him. I would not be so sure, Reg. But I am. If others call you Sin, I shall call you something special. He paused, picking up his wine chalice and swirling the contents as he thought. I shall call you beauty in public, verse at home, and sin only in our bedchambers. This was sounding promising. What was the catch? Oh, she didn't care. To hell with virtue. She would lose it all to him and surrender completely. I do enjoy nicknames, she answered with a smile. Now eat, Reg. You must be famished. Okay, so that is chapter 1. The next chapter is the only one bench in the carriage chapter. So, yeah. And then there is the long-awaited night, which is chapter 3. Do y'all want me to read chapter 3? Because it's one of my favorites. It is where you realize her bane of her existence. Hey, Maggie, how are you? So, yeah, this is, for those of you just entering and listen to me reading the first chapter, this is Project 63, the one that wouldn't leave me alone, and I wrote in 5 days. So it is a novella, and I didn't write like 100,000 words in 5 days. Oh my gosh, that would be, no. But this is sitting right now at like 31,000, and it might grow to about 35 because I already know that I want to add in 2 chapters during my developmental edits, which should be starting around April, I hope. My plans are kind of up in the air right now, considering different things. But yeah. Yes. So JC wants me to read chapter 3. So let me take a drink and I shall read it. Thank you, Eva. Eva has a book coming out soon. Eva, I think you're a mod, so if you want to share the link, go right ahead, or at least to like your Facebook page or whatever, share away. If you only want to read, I do. So you're probably going to hear me talk about this project a lot because this was just so, like I said, it was just so fun to write. And if these slides are like anything, any clue that you can have to how much fun I had doing this, then yeah, I'm going to let the slides play again while I read this 3rd chapter. Maybe it won't be too distracting, or maybe I should just leave it. I'll just leave it. We'll just leave it at my husband wants to keep me pristine slide. Volunteer as beta trip. Okay. Eva says, I just re-uploaded updates files for that release. Find out more by following one of my pen names, Tyler Kane, on Facebook and Meta under the same name. Nice. Or find me on other platforms. I say things there too. Eva Tehan, Blue Sky, and such. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, chapter 3, The Long-Awaited Night. She tissed, tossing the pen onto her vanity and staring at her reflection. Drat it all. Up, out of the way, or down so he can grab. She had thought up would suffice and had sent her maid away after the woman did a fine job of pinning her thick tresses up enough to entice further mussing. Now she was second-guessing her choice. It wasn't like she could call her maid back. Reg would enter at any moment. Her heart fluttered at the thought. Oh, stop. She waved her hands in front of her face as it turned from perfectly pale to red blotched in the mirror. In the hours it took for the celebration, she had planned what to wear of her lingerie. Not that there was much of it. In the hours in the coach, she had tried not to drool over how he filled his seat beside her, or how he shyly kept his gaze out the window instead of on her, unless speaking to her. A shy, beautiful warrior was about to stride into their shared bed chambers and show her what it was like to have the ultimate relations between a man and a woman. Verson had many things to do. First, the hair. She settled for it being half up and half down now. Second, she needed the lighting to be perfect, enough that she could see and touch his every scar or muscle, but not so bright that it would hinder their slumber after festivities. She wandered around the room, extinguishing one candle there and another here to make the room glow in a romantic way. Third, her pose. Should she meet him at the door and wriggle before him all shy like, then he could pick her up and toss her on the bed with his brute strength? No, 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 no. She should lie on the chase and pretend to be reading one of the books off the coffee table. That way, plugs in headset. Sorry. She should lie on the chase and pretend to be reading one of the books off the coffee table. That way he would see where she was, how tumbled her hair appeared, but would have to come around to see her in all her glory. Perhaps. She settled on the chase, laying half up on the arm and curling her legs ever so slightly. This wasn't right. This furniture was far too small for him to do as he wished with her. Verson rose and padded over to the bed. Looking at it, she tapped her finger against her bottom lip. Should she stay standing and lean back against the post? Hold on. Sorry about that. I heard noises coming. Okay. Verson rose and padded over to the bed. Looking at it, she tapped her finger against her bottom lip. Should she stay standing and lean back against the post? The one on the left or the one on the right? Which side of the bed did he prefer? Maybe she should lie at the foot, across it. He could see her from the door, and she could watch lust fill his eyes. Verson frowned, knowing she wasn't the prim and proper perfection most of her kind were. Her hair was brown, bordering on black, and held waves instead of curls. She wasn't thin, but that helped with things most other ladies lacked until they bore children. She already had the boobs, ass, and thighs most of the men in the romance novels wanted. She hoped he liked that too. He did call her beauty, so that had to be a sign he did. Verson waved her hand in front of her face as she reimagined him saying her name or nicknames in this very room. Crawling on the bed, she pulled at her lace nightie, settling it just right to cover over the important parts. She shouldn't give too much away at first sight, right? She settled on one elbow, facing the door. Her other hand she slid under her breasts, pushing them up so they strained the lace just so. Perfect. No. What if... She sat up, leaning on her hand and covering her back. This was better. It didn't seem like she was so desperate this way. Or did it? In the middle of scooting off the end of the bed to sit on the cushioned trunk there instead, a knock sounded. My lady, your lord husband has arrived. Her mouth suddenly grew dry. She wasn't in a grand pose. He should wait. But she wanted to see him. Would he just be wearing a robe, just pants? What did men wear to bed, actually? She planted her feet on the trunk, knees together and slightly to the side for chastity's sake. Her hands on the edge of the bed to either side, pouted her lips, and pushed her chest out. You may enter, my lord. The door opened just enough for him to step through, and he closed it behind him without looking her way. The turn he did seemed to stop time, but his midnight gaze finally landed on her. She inwardly squealed as his lips parted and his eyes widened slightly. He was God incarnate, had to be. Brown hair, sun-kissed, framed his face and fell over his shoulders in waves to where his abdomen narrowed to his waist. Those eyes of his so dark, so deep, the scar on one cheek adding character, showing his devotion to protecting his citizens. Not a sign of scales nor bite marks to hint at a different lineage on his bare neck. Nor on the slim slice of bare tan chest she could see between the lapels of his loose dark blue shirt. Another scar did peek at her from under the left lapel, though. So she at least had an excuse to touch there. His pants were loose, too, black. Perhaps they were loose enough to hide the bulge he should have. Or was he on the smaller side? Or did the romance books tell her wrong about a man's erection with clothing on? What if he was disgusted by her? Nerves shot through her like ice spikes at the last thought. Her voice barely came out of her lips. Reg? You are divinity, my lady. His words were breathless, like it took every bit of air in his lungs to push them out. Relief washed through her and comforted her like a warm bath. His strides were long, and she felt every breath she took catch with every one of his bitted footfalls as he came closer to her. He was perfection, with grace, a warrior lover. He went down on a knee before her, if I may. His hand hovered over her bare left foot. Yes, please. Touch me, all of me. Touch all, everything. What are you waiting for? She thought to herself. His hand was large over her foot, the calluses rough, as he slid his hand around to cup her heel. He brought her foot up, just enough for him to lean down and kiss the top near her ankle. My wife, you shall have nothing to fear from me. I will be as gentle and as kind as I may. I will never touch you without your express permission. He smiled up at her, his eyes shining. Your beauty will remain unblemished and intact for your next husband to enjoy. It's starting. We're here. Finally, I get to see him naked. He's so gentle. What is he saying? Oh, that's so cute. Wait, what? And then he leaves. That is chapter 3. So Versen's inner thoughts are what makes that. Say what now? Oh, goodness. Yeah, Grandma Eva has one coming too for our genre hot from Sam's. Yep. Next husband, yes, coming in, sir. No, the wind is blowing at 50 miles per hour. The internet has turned. Oh no, I'm sorry, Maggie. So yeah, for the rest of the book, Versen is stubbornly trying to convince her husband that he is her husband, and she doesn't want a next husband. And she's also trying to convince him that he's not going to die anytime soon. He's young. And you know, things should happen. So yeah, that is my husband wants to keep me pristine. But yeah. I'll start it here, that way y'all can see it while I'm talking for one last time. He says that to their wife, right? He is so weird. He's yeah. He has his reasons though. He thinks he has his reasons, I should say. Versen will have nothing of it though. She's like, your reasons are stupid. You should believe me, listen to me, bed me. So yeah, like I said, this was such a fun little novella to write, and I can't wait to just edit it and get it out. But I know I need to take some time away from it just so I can get to it. But wait, if they don't consummate the marriage, then are they even really? Exactly, because she doesn't think that they are officially married until he beds her. So it's almost like she's trying also to convince him that that's the case and that he's not protecting her by doing this. And because she herself is so naive and so virginal. I mean, she does read a lot of romance books, so she has gleaned a lot from these romance books, but you and I both know that romance books aren't, you know, that educational. So she's second guessing everything that she has read, and she is also wondering what really happens, and she's just she's at a loss. She is at such a loss, and she's trying everything, and she's even talking to his men, and his men are another thing. He's got 7 of them that are like his right hand guys, Harry is his second, and he is definitely the right hand. So proper nobility have nicknamed him Duke Victory because he always brings them victory. Warriors, on the other hand, all the soldiers and all the people that are out on the battlefield and all the people that I've ever met him on the battlefield call him Duke Vicious. So the seven, they call themselves the Vicious Tamers because they're like the only ones that can kind of rein him back from killing everybody. And they are kind of mixed fantasy races. Good morning. One of them is a dragon, one of them is kind of like an elf type creature and things like that. You've got two older gentlemen who are wizened and kind of think of Reg as kind of their kid, but not really. They're he's still their general, but they're like his mentors kind of thing, but they learn a lot from him too. One's name is Slaith and the other one's name is Bertrand, and both of those guys are a lot of fun. Slaith literally calls him stupid whenever he finds out that he hasn't bedded his wife yet. So that just, yeah. There are two that are kind of middle ground. You've got Harry and Frederick. Both of them are about Regis's age, and then you have Charn and Doxy. Charn is a little bit younger. Charn has a very high-pitched voice, so whenever he's training the men, all the other men have to like pitch in with him because none of the younger soldiers listen to Charn because his voice is so high-pitched. And he's still young, so the younger soldiers think that they can still make fun of him. And then Doxy is actually Regis's squire, and he's very young, and he just doesn't understand a lot of things. You need to see where this is going. I mean, I'm hopelessly single, so I don't know anything about marriage, but I thought that was how it went, right? Is she going to get desperate in bed? No, she doesn't do this. So I don't like the whole cheating aspect to some of the romance novels, like I'm going to do this in order to make him jealous kind of thing. And they go that far. Now, if it's just like a little bit of flirting, I'm going to flirt with this guy just to make him jealous kind of thing, I can see that. And there is a little bit of that. But Regis just reads too much into things. And Regis doesn't know his own feelings to begin with. So he's all over the place. He doesn't understand himself. He doesn't understand his feelings. He doesn't understand his wife. That's for damn sure. And all of his men are picking on him about every little thing. And he's at his wit's end. But he has this idea and he's sticking to it. And he's stubborn enough to where when he has an idea and it becomes a belief that he's going to do it, and nothing is going to convince him. Maybe. Yeah. Flirting to cause jealousy usually ends badly. Yeah. So one of the other chapters, the "What did you do, my lady?" So that is kind of sort of the repercussions of some of Versen's actions. And it's Harry that asks her, "What did you do?" So yeah. Clearly he doesn't understand his wife communication. The bro code sounds like it is breaking down. Yeah, no, it stays strong. It stays really strong. in this one. It's just, yeah. Towards the end, desperate measures cause some more confusion and a minor breakdown. But yeah, it'll be good. JC says, "Why did my mind go to Little Mermaid when they sang 'Kiss the Girl,' but instead bed the girl?" That, yeah, I need to. Throughout this, like I said, I had so much fun writing this. So throughout this, there are several little half quotes from some of my favorite things. A couple of things from The Princess Bride. There's a couple of things from Mulan, I think. There's just little things here and there, and I think y'all will enjoy it, especially if you can pick up on some of those and just, yeah. I fully intend half the people to read this to throw the book across the room after a couple of chapters, but then run over and grab it because something's got to happen and they got to know. So yeah, the queen even dips her hand into this relationship because the queen is actually Versen's cousin. So yeah, Reg has everybody against him. He's the lone man on the hill in this whole entire book. And I feel bad for him, but at the same time, oh my god, dude, just do it. So let's see. Any pages that y'all want me to read between 3 and, let's see, where does it get kind of? Okay. Here's one line that I kind of want to read. Unlike popular beliefs, when a man is down, he is not kicked. He drowns himself in his own sorrows and tries to make his wrongs worse, all on his own. So yeah, that's one of my favorite lines. But let's see. 3 between 3 and 63. Yeah, 3 and 63. Let me see what's on page 69. That's a good question. Nope, I can't read that one. Yeah, no, can't read that one. So yeah. So yeah, 3 and 63. Granted, if it's in like the first chapter or the third chapter that I've already read, I'll just maybe go to the next chapter, I guess. So the list of chapters as they stand right now. 1, the ceremony that is too long. 2, only one bench in the carriage. 3, the long-awaited night. Chapter 4 is I Made a Vow. Chapter 5 is Divinity and Perfection Are Excuses. Chapter 6, Reasoning with Stubbornness Has No Reason. 7, What Did You Do, My Lady? 8, obviously not so obvious. 9, called out to dig in. 10 is hopes and dreams. 11 is one of these plans has to come together. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? 12 is that a sign of happiness? 13, small steps for big rewards. 14, stick it in me. That's Eva's favorite. 15, no madness in her, but in him. 15, don't let the water grow cold. 16, is that a bell you're wearing? 17, you've got to know when to borrow strength. Next one is balls and spears. The one after that is a bunch of F's with some stars. The chapter 22 is does a dick kill asking for a friend? No, wait, that was 21. 22 is of magic tongues. 23 is what is this white stuff everywhere. 24 is vicious insatiability. I'm sorry, Jenna. Oh my gosh, Jenna, you're gonna have to rewatch. You're gonna have to do the whole the rewatch thing. Yes. Yes, tag the like button. Balls and spears. Yes. Asking for a friend. What did I walk in on? A very fun project. I had so much fun writing this, y'all. Okay, Alice says 33 and JC says 34. So we're going to read those real quick. All right. Page 33 is the beginning of the chapter that is titled, One of These Plans Has to Come Together. Failure was the bitter taste in her mouth upon hearing disturbing news. She had to pull out a map to devise where he and his regiment were being sent to. The discussion of training he and his favored men had last night was actually a discussion of travel. She'd remember that code from now on. I shall be back within a fortnight if all goes well, Regis stated as they ate breakfast together. She prodded at the fried egg. During that grand discussion last night, you couldn't be bothered to tell me you would depart today for a fortnight. He chuckled. I can hardly think when in your presence. I'm proud to speak what I did. She still had hope, but it would be a fortnight before she could stoke it into something more worthwhile. After he finished eating and the maid took away her pecked-at plate, Versen followed him out to the courtyard. To complete her disappointment, the supply wagons were loaded, and half his men were already up on their horses and in position. Versen bit back the childlike questions she wanted to ask him. The, do you really have to go? And the, but can't you just send your men and have Harry command them? And the most childish of all, can I go with you? Fell dead on her tongue. Do not fear, my lady wife. I have a list of gentlemen in my office. Mervis knows where it is, and he shall help you choose a suitable replacement for me if something should happen. Regis smiled as if he was giving her the best news ever. That is not what she wants to hear, I assure you, Slaith scowled, stopping his wide gray speckled steed beside them. Give her a kiss. Tell her you shall see her soon. That's right. Then give her a kiss from me too, Harry winked, leaning forward on his horse's withers. She watched as most men mounted their horses, without saddles upon them, just blankets. Isn't that uncomfortable? Sometimes. We ride better, and often we get there right after our first delivery of supplies, Reg answered, ignoring his men's teasing. Half of us are dragonkin and need better access to our horses to keep them from fearing us, Harry added, patting the thick black neck of his horse. Something about our scent blending with theirs, he trailed off and shrugged. You're a dragonkin? I am. So is Charn and Doxy, from the ones you've met. Slaith is well over 400 years old and on his third wife and third round of little Slaiths. He's an elfkin, Harry added. Slaith rolled his eyes to the gray skies. Listen here, Dragon Breath. I'll have you know she is my fourth wife, and I only have 16 children. So that's 33. This is 34. Only, Reg and Harry said together. Slaith huffed, then turned his attention to Verson. We will make sure he comes back to you in one piece, so you can finally give me a bouncing human baby with soft cheeks to hold. Slaith, Reg barked, stopping his check over of his gear on his white horse. As if in agreement, the horse stomped his hoof and snorted. Give her a kiss, gods kick him, Harry barked right back at Reg. Verson stepped forward, tapping Reg on the shoulder. She wondered why they weren't wearing their armor yet. She met his eyes over his shoulder. With a sigh, he turned and placed his lips on her forehead. Stay well, my wife. He jumped up into his saddle. Verson fisted her hands in her skirts to keep from pulling him back down off of his horse. Come back to me. Reg didn't answer her, but Slaith did as they trotted to the head of the column of soldiers. He will, my lady. And then there's a chapter break. Each day, between household paperwork and chores, she wrote down another plan. Her husband would crawl into her arms and give her her first sexual experience. He was perfect for it. All aspects of the main male character she liked was in her husband and made up his appearance. He only lacked mysteriousness and the need to stay inside her every waking moment like they did. One day, she said, adding the latest plan to the rest of the pile. 20. One of them had to work. Had to convince him that she was his wife and his alone. To live in the present and think of himself, or at least do as she wanted. Mervis entered the office, tea tray balanced onto one hand and the letters in the other. My lady, I thought you might enjoy some tea. It has been a while since breakfast, and you have not eaten lunch. I was just thinking some tea would be nice, Mervis. Thank you. She smiled at the older gentleman and took the tea tray from him, shushing his sputters in protest. Setting it down on the table between the two couches, she took the letters from him. Opening the first one, she listened to the tea pouring into her cup and Mervis rearranging the biscuits on their plate, before presenting her with both on the table, easily within her reach. How many days has it been, Mervis? Each day she asked, and each day he answered. 11 days, my lady. Has the Duke's chambers been refreshed? Yes, we aired the room out. Tomorrow we will wash the linens and dust. Thank you, Mervis. Her gaze flicked up to double-check he had actually exited once the door clicked shut. She flopped back, tossing the letter on the cushion beside her, unread. So that was page 34. It is quite a line to walk in on. Oh my gosh. All right. So, yeah, that was part of one of these plans has to come together chapter. Pages 33 and 34. Like I said, this was just such a fun little thing. Stay in her, yeah. She wishes. She, like I said, she has all of these imaginings because of the romance novels that she's read, and she's like, what is wrong with him? Wait, What if the novels are lying to me? Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I don't know. I'm hoping that. See, I would just love to jump back in and edit it, do developmental edits and all that stuff, and just get it out as soon as possible. But I know I need to step back so I can look at it with fresh eyes. Kona is snoring behind me. It's not Hunter, it's Kona. But I'm thinking April. April is when I'll begin editing on it, developmental edits and all that good stuff. It's right at 31,000 words right now. I don't think it's going to be over 35,000 words. I know there's a couple of things I need to flesh out, some details to add, and I already have 2 chapters I kind of want to add. But maybe it will be published around August-ish. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to decide whether or not by that time if I'm going to have enough funds to hire an editor, or if I'm just going to need to rely on beta readers again. So yeah, that, and as y'all know from previous videos and stuff, my schedule is kind of up in the air a little bit because we need to figure out how Dad is going to take his treatments and all that good stuff, and which one of us is going to be with him from one week to another kind of thing if it does turn out bad. And yeah, all the things happening all at once. But yeah, this was, my husband wants to keep me pristine, was definitely a distraction project, because otherwise I doubt that I would have been able to write 31,000 words in 5 days or 20 hours, whatever it was. So yeah. Oh, and I can't wait for y'all to pick out the quotes. Yeah. The chapter "No Madness in Her, but in Him" is another quote. It's kind of a amalgamation between Alice in Wonderland and Jane Austen. So yeah. Let's see. After listening to the rowdy men give her hints about writing, as they often called it, she felt extremely tired. Her head was full of fresh ideas. She needed to get him interested, or all their advice for her first time would be for naught. I am there. And hopefully y'all will have fun reading it once it gets there. All right. So I've been at this for an hour. I am going to let y'all go. You will definitely be hearing more about this project as time goes on. And I want to thank you for joining me, of course, because, yeah, madness, chaos ensues. Oddly enough, this did not come from a character randomizer. This just came from an idea that would not leave me alone, just because of all the webtoons I've read and some of the anime I've watched and watching My Lady Jane. So yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for dealing with the crazy. But I do hope that this drums up some interest for My Husband Wants to Keep Me Pristine. There will be updates for it. I will show you a cover once I have it made, and get you some dates once I have at least the developmental edit done, and maybe a couple of beta reader feedbacks. You're welcome. All right. I will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock for my regular live stream. I know that Heart Breathing's community is having Double Down Day, so I will probably keep my live stream tomorrow short. That way everybody can kind of jump in and whatnot if they want to. And I'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Bye.